Most people spend their entire lives chasing goals and die wondering why they never got anywhere. You set the goal. You write it down. You feel the excitement. And then, 3 weeks later, you're right back where you started. Frustrated, confused, and quietly convinced that maybe you're just not built for success. But what if the problem was never you? What if the entire system you were taught to follow was broken from the beginning? Here's the thing nobody tells you. Goals don't build success. Systems do. And the moment you understand the difference, your entire life shifts. But that's not even the most important part. The real reason goals keep most people poor, stuck, and spinning in circles goes much deeper than motivation or discipline. And by the end of this video, you're going to see your life in a completely different way. If you're serious about changing how you think and how you operate, take a second right now to like this video and subscribe to Mindluent, because what you're about to hear is the kind of thing that takes most people decades to figure out, and you're getting it today. Let me tell you about a guy named Marcus. Marcus was 28 years old, working a job he hated, and tired of watching life pass him by. Every single January, Marcus would sit down and write his goals. Save $10,000, get in shape, start a business, learn to invest. His list was detailed, motivated, and completely serious. He wasn't playing around, he meant it every time. And every single December, Marcus would look at that same list and feel the familiar weight of failure sitting on his chest. Nothing changed. Same job, same bank account, same life. And Marcus did what most people do. He blamed himself. He told himself he just wasn't disciplined enough, wasn't smart enough, didn't want it badly enough. But Marcus was wrong about all of it. His problem wasn't his character. His problem was that he was playing a game he was never going to win, and nobody had ever told him why. Here's where things get interesting. In the late 1800s, there was a man named William James. He was one of the greatest psychologists America ever produced, and he spent years studying how human beings actually change. Not how we think we change, not how motivational speakers say we change, how we actually, biologically, psychologically change. And what he found was simple but devastating. He said, "The greatest revolution of our generation is the discovery that human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, set a goal. He said, change the inner attitude. He was talking about identity. He was talking about systems. Think about what a goal actually is for a second. A goal is a destination. It's a point on a map. And there's nothing wrong with knowing where you want to go. But knowing where you want to go and having a reliable way to get there are two completely different things. Most people focus everything on the destination and nothing on the road. They stare at the finish line so hard they trip over their own feet every single day. A system, on the other hand, is something completely different. A system is a process. It's a set of daily behaviors, decisions, and habits that run almost automatically. It doesn't depend on motivation. It doesn't need a perfect morning. It doesn't care if you're tired or if life got hard. A system just runs. And here's the powerful part. A system produces results, whether you feel like it or not. Let me give you a real example. Two people decide they want to get fit. Person A sets a goal, lose 30 pounds by summer. Person B builds a system, 30 minutes of movement every single day, no exceptions. Now watch what happens. Person A wakes up one morning in February feeling unmotivated. It's cold, it's early, the goal feels far away. They skip the gym. One skip becomes two, two becomes a week. And suddenly summer arrives and the goal is dead. Person B has a bad morning too, but their system doesn't ask how they feel. Their system just says 30 minutes. So they go for a walk. Maybe it's slow, maybe it's ugly, but it happens. And 30 minutes compounds across 30 days, 90 days, 6 months. By summer, person B didn't just lose weight, they became someone who moves every day. That's the difference. One is a wish. The other is an identity. Most people never notice this. They keep reloading the same goal like it's going to work this time, if they just want it badly enough. But desire without a system is just daydreaming with a deadline. Now here's where the psychology gets really fascinating. There's a concept in behavioral science called habit loops. Your brain is wired to automate. Whenever you repeat a behavior in a consistent context, your brain starts to encode it as a default pattern. It stops requiring willpower. It stops requiring decision-making. It just happens. That's why you don't think about how to brush your teeth in the morning. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't need motivation. You just do it. Because it became a system built into your identity. Wealthy people, high performers, elite athletes, they all figured this out. They don't rely on motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. They build systems. They build environments that make the right behavior the easy behavior. They remove the friction. And they repeat until the system runs itself. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever set a goal that you were completely fired up about and then watched it slowly die over the next few weeks? Because I guarantee you're not alone. And understanding why that happened is going to change everything. Here's the part that most people miss entirely. Goals actually have a hidden psychological cost. When you set a goal, your brain registers it as a future event. And here's the brutal truth. Your brain treats an imagined future as partially real. Studies in neuroscience have shown that simply planning or visualizing a goal activates some of the same reward centers as actually achieving it. This is called premature cognitive commitment. In simple terms, your brain starts to feel like you've already done the thing before you've done anything. And that feeling quietly drains your drive. This is why so many people set goals, feel great for a few days, and then slowly lose steam. They already got the emotional payoff. The brain got its hit of dopamine from the planning, and now it doesn't need the execution. Systems don't do this. Systems are boring by design. They don't give you a dopamine rush for planning. They give you results for showing up. Let me tell you about another person. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was a single mother working 2 jobs and trying to build a small online business on the side. She had no time, no extra money, and honestly not much energy left at the end of the day. She set goals for 2 years straight and got nowhere. Then one day, a mentor told her something she never forgot. He said, "Stop trying to achieve, start trying to become." She didn't know what he meant at first, but he explained it like this. Every time you set a goal, you're saying, "I want to get there someday." Every time you build a system, you're saying, "I am already becoming the person who does this." Sarah shifted everything. Instead of setting a goal to make $5,000 a month from her business, she built a system. Every single day, no matter what, she spent 45 minutes on her business. Not when she felt ready, not when the kids were perfectly settled, every day. Some days it was midnight, some days it was 5 in the morning, but the system ran. 6 months later, she had replaced one of her 2 jobs. A year later, she was full-time in her own business. She didn't achieve her goal. She became the person her goal required. And this changes everything once you really feel it. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. Jim Rohn said that, and most people hear it and nod and move on. But it's not a quote. It's a law. Here's where we go deeper. There's a concept called identity-based change. Most people try to change from the outside in. They set a goal, try to force new behaviors, and hope their identity eventually catches up. But the research shows that lasting change almost always works in the opposite direction. You change your identity first, the story you tell about who you are, and the behaviors follow naturally. If you believe you are someone who is building wealth, you make different decisions than someone who is trying to get rich. If you believe you are someone who takes care of their body, you don't negotiate with yourself about the gym. The system becomes an expression of who you are, not a punishment for who you aren't. This is why most people fail. They're trying to do the things a successful person does without first becoming the person who does those things. They're wearing the costume without playing the character. And eventually, the costume comes off. But here's the most important part of all this. Building a system doesn't require perfect conditions. It doesn't require a morning routine that starts at 5 a.m. or a vision board on your wall. It requires one thing: consistency in a small behavior repeated over time. That's it, nothing more. The most powerful systems in the world are almost embarrassingly simple. Warren Buffett reads for 5 hours every single day. That's the system. Not a complicated trading algorithm, not a genius insight every morning. 5 hours of reading, repeated for decades. Compounded over time, that system made him one of the wealthiest people in human history. James Clear, who wrote one of the most important books on habits in the last decade, puts it this way: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Read that again. You fall to the level of your systems. Meaning your goals don't protect you when life gets hard, your systems do. Your goals don't show up when you're tired, your systems do. Your goals don't build momentum, your systems do. Think about the people in your life who seem to always be moving forward. They're not smarter than you. They're probably not more talented, but they have systems that run in the background of their lives, whether the world cooperates or not. And those systems compound. Every day they run, they produce a little more than the day before. And that compounding is what creates the gap between people that looks like luck from the outside. If you've been watching someone else's success and telling yourself they just got lucky, I want you to hear this clearly. What looks like luck is almost always a system running long enough to produce results that seem sudden. Nothing about real success is sudden. It's just invisible until it isn't. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. I want you to pick one area of your life you want to change. Just one. And instead of setting a goal, design a system. Ask yourself, what is the smallest behavior I could repeat every single day that moves me toward the person I want to become? Not a massive action, not a life overhaul. One small, repeatable, non-negotiable behavior. And then protect it like it's the most important thing in your life. Because it is. Because that tiny system, repeated consistently, is the seed of everything you want. If this video gave you a new way of seeing things, share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it. Because most people spend their whole lives working hard in the wrong direction, and sometimes all it takes is one idea at the right moment to shift everything. Here is the truth that ties all of this together. Goals are not your enemy. Goals have a place. They point you in a direction. They give you a destination to aim toward. But they are the map, not the vehicle. The vehicle, the thing that actually moves you forward, is the system. And when you build a strong enough system, something remarkable happens. The goal becomes almost irrelevant. Because the system produces results that exceed what the goal ever imagined. Marcus, the guy I told you about at the beginning, eventually figured this out. It wasn't a dramatic moment. There was no thunderclap. He just stopped writing goals one January and started building one system instead. 1 hour every morning, no exceptions, working on building a small income outside his job. He didn't know where it would go. He just ran the system. 2 years later, he left that job he hated. Not because he hit a goal, because he became someone different. You are not your past behavior. You are not your failed goals or your broken streaks or your missed deadlines. You are who you decide to become, starting today, and you become that person one system at a time. Stop chasing, start building. Build the system, protect the system, trust the system, and watch what your life becomes when you stop depending on motivation and start depending on the daily process that never sleeps, never quits, and never needs to be excited to run. The goal was never the thing. It was always who you were becoming on the way there.